Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello, Shining Decorations. How can I help you?
Hello. We are thinking of renovating our hotel this year. It was built 15 years ago and it's quite old now, so I'm calling to see if your company can do that.
Oh yes, we do all kinds of decoration and renovation projects. Last month, we just renovated the city library. The client was really pleased with the outcome.
Oh, really? I heard that one was pretty tough, but the new library does get a fresh look.
Yes, it was a tough one. May I have the name of your hotel?
Yes, it's Central Hotel. Should I tell you about some changes we want to make before you come and check it out?
Yes, please. I will write them down. Just a moment, please. Okay. What are the changes you want to make?
First, the address on our signboard in the front of the hotel is not big enough. We would like to have it enlarged.
I see. It's important for the guests to see the information clearly. No problem.
Okay. Next is our swimming pool. It's now in the basement. Our guests are not very happy about it. After talking to the designers, we've decided to move it to the roof of the hotel.
Oh, that's a big change, as it'll be an outdoor site, but I believe it's a wonderful idea.
Yes, our hotel is right beside a river, so it's got a good view from up there.
That's true. I'm sure more people would stay at your hotel because of it. It's a very competitive feature. We can do that for you.
We have a big lounge on the ground floor where our guests can rest. We don't think we are making the most of it, and my manager said we should use the room for reception. The old one is too small.
So you don't need an area for guests to rest?
The hall will serve the purpose.
All right, I've written it down. Anything else?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Let me see. I think the words on the notice board should be translated, but I'll need to confirm with my supervisor if we need to translate into Chinese or not. We have quite a lot of Chinese guests now, but Spanish translation is definitely needed. German is not necessary, neither is Japanese. We don't have many guests from those countries.
Okay, I'll just need to go and see how to plan the layout later.
Yes, please. We don't know if we should upgrade the design of the price board or not. It looks a bit old-fashioned.
What color is it?
It's red. I was wondering if white looks better.
It's hard to tell unless we see it in person.
Okay. When can the construction team come and start their work?
Well, we are currently working on another project, but we think we can finish the work there sometime in June, so we can come before July. And it depends on how much time you have for the renovation project. If it's quite urgent, we'll need to discuss the starting time.
We hope to start early, but it's not too urgent. We will wait till the end of peak season.
Yeah, you don't want to miss the peak time right now. So who should I contact for the initial check and evaluation?
You can call my manager. His name is Clifton Barron.
Excuse me, how do you spell his first name?
Cliffton.
And his phone number?
It's 093-03-6602. You can call during work hours.
Got it. As for the contract details and the cost of the project, should I contact him or...
Yes, you could talk to him for all these details.
Okay, thanks.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Part 2. You will hear a traffic police officer talking to a group of listeners about driving licence application and traffic conditions in the UK. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15. Hello, I'm Edward, and I'm here to tell you about road conditions in various areas of the UK. I am also going to tell you about driver's licenses in the UK. If you have never had a driver's license, or you have one from another country and you want to get a UK license, you must be a UK resident. You will need to show a medical report when your UK license needs to be renewed. If you are trying to translate your original foreign driving license to apply for a UK license, which is a must if you want to be able to drive here, you will need to visit an official agency. These are scattered throughout the London area and are well equipped to assist you with any questions you might have, and any services they offer are included in your license fee. If you already have a translated license but need some personal information updating, you do not need to pay for the update. They'll do it for free. When you are getting a new driving license, you may need to have a new photo taken, as some photos are rejected. It's actually okay if your photo is too small, since we can get it enlarged with our printer. The majority of rejected photos are the ones that were taken with a cream backdrop instead of a monotone grey background. We've now found that photos with the latter allow us to identify the license holder much more easily. If you were wearing glasses on the previous photo, you don't need to worry about it, since it is still allowed. If you are not sure whether your previous license is still valid, then the license checking service is for you. The procedures are quite clear, and you just have to follow them. Ideally, I would like to see the process going faster, since it can take hours to finish. From my standpoint, it will help if all the applicants bring the necessary identification with them. Then all they have to do is just fill in the forms accordingly, step by step. I'm often asked whether I have a personal recommendation about the fastest or cheapest place to get all this done. But I think it really depends on where you are. They can all get busy at some point, and when it is quiet at one branch, it may be busy in another. So take your pick. All I would say is that there is absolutely no difference in price. It's a standard fee. The only advice I would give is that the quickest way to complete an application is to fill out the form on the internet and then bring a print copy with you to the agency location of your choice. Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 16 to 20. Next, people frequently ask me what I think of the road conditions in some of our cities. London is obviously the biggest and busiest, and there are lots of parking restrictions, one-way systems, and so on. But on the whole, I find the traffic signs are very clear. In Edinburgh, most people use digital maps to get to know local traffic and road conditions, which can be estimated through different traffic flow lines. It is a city of lights, traffic lights, but they're extremely efficient as they're timed perfectly to get the traffic flowing smoothly. That's important because pedestrian areas and crossings are always packed with people on foot, which needs strong regulation. The city of Cardiff has tackled traffic flow in a different way. It recently completed a road expansion scheme, and the extra lanes of the dual carriageway are easing congestion. It's a similar story in Manchester. Instead of going through the town centre, most vehicles choose ring roads so as to avoid the downtown congestion. It can still happen though, so there's a possibility that the city will introduce checkpoints where the police can intervene to direct traffic at peak periods. And finally, they say all roads lead to Rome, and you could say that about Oxford. I like the many options for getting in and out of the city, because drivers can always find alternative routes. The other cities in the UK are... That is the end of part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 2.
You will hear Jack and his tutor discussing a research on food. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Jack, how is your research into food additives and ingredients going?
My project is going well, although I haven't quite finished. There are a few remaining points I need to research and some data to compile.
I'm happy to hear it's coming along well. I understand you collaborated with a partner on some aspects of this project. Sometimes it's worth teaming up with a fellow student, especially if you've worked together before and you know you can perform well as a team.
Originally, I thought the research material would be complicated, so I should ask a friend to help interpret the results. However, it was not as complicated as I imagined. But it turned out having a partner was beneficial because there was a lot of research that needed doing, and I wouldn't have had the time to do it on my own.
It's usually of benefit when conducting a research project to interview people that deal with your topic of study regularly. Have you thought about who you could include in your interviewing process? Perhaps supermarket managers would be a good starting point.
Yeah, it's true that supermarket managers could be important subjects for a survey like this. But I have decided to start with consumers and take down their opinions on what they're eating. Then what I'm going to do is to conduct some surveys with food manufacturers. It's also necessary to know what food manufacturers think of.
Excellent. Just remember, you will have to get permission from management before you begin. What information have you found useful for your project so far?
I've been examining labels on frequently purchased products, especially ready-made meals, to understand what manufacturers are required to disclose. I found the results interesting. I thought the weight of the product and ingredients would have to be stated on the packaging.
What did you find instead?
It seems the price of the food item is the most important consideration of the manufacturers, rather than the consumer's awareness of what they're eating.
Regarding food items that contained a list of ingredients, was there anything you found particularly surprising, such as which foods are most popular?
Unfortunately, I couldn't find out much about the popularity of foods from the labels, although I suspect the most frequently bought items would be from the fast food aisle. What really surprised me was the amount of artificial ingredients these foods contain. We're taking in vast amounts of additives every day.
As the cost of food goes up, we'll see additives listed in the ingredients more often, as it's cheaper to produce chemicals than grow the natural products. Do you have any concerns over how your project is going? Is it hard to get respondents?
That's the easy part. My partner on the project worries that we have much more essential data to collect, but I'm more concerned with the fact that we're running out of time to complete the project.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
I have some tips to assist you. You must have a great deal of recorded content to interpret. It may be difficult to compile, so continuing to work with your partner is a good option.
Those handheld recorders worked really well. I think I'll use them again for interviewing next time. I've also got to collect some data specific to consumer preferences. It's difficult to find the time.
There's no harm in asking someone else to collect it and even analyze it. You just need the results. Some of the first-year students would be glad to have the experience.
That would be fantastic. I've got some specific research to do on the ingredients of well-done beef. It's a controversial issue.
Perhaps you could read some articles on the subject beforehand, although there is not much information available. I understand why you want to include this in your project, but I think you need to weigh up its worth against the time it would take. It wouldn't be worth it.
True. I still have those interviews in the shopping centre to conduct.
I suggest before you begin that you do some training. Most shopping center managers want interviewers to act professionally, so you might need to find out some specific information first. You don't want to harass customers.
Okay, I'll think about that. I've also got to decide on the layout of the results and format it into a logical presentation.
You can work on that once you've gathered all your data.
Great, thanks for your help.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Part 4. You will hear part of a lecture about a fossil park. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Welcome, students, to the daily talk on the fossils found here at Green Mountain Fossil Park. First, I will tell you a little about the history of our park. The park is designed to educate you on what the environment was like in this area around 5 million years ago, when most of the area was at sea level and near water bodies, such as lakes and seas. These bodies of water provided moisture and significant plant and animal variety, which has resulted in the fantastic collection of fossils which you will see today. The fossils here were discovered by mine workers during the 1960s, and the park itself was open to tourists and students back in 1985. We have 3 types of fossils here in the park. The first are transitional fossils. These are rare fossils that appear to exhibit traits of the animal's evolutionary ancestors and its descendants, such as an animal showing both dinosaur and bird-like features. Next, we have preserved fossils, which are more common fossilized remains. These are fossils in which the structure of an animal or plant remains intact, and you can clearly see something like a plant or a fish. Thirdly, we have fossils which indirectly show the activities of animals, such as their tracks and burrows, and we refer to these as trace fossils. You may wonder how fossils are formed. Well, many people think it happens when organisms are caught in a volcanic eruption and are trapped in ash, but in reality these formations are rare. The most common way a fossil is formed is through petrifaction. An animal dies and becomes buried under mud or silt. Over time the mud hardens around the bones of the animal. Eventually the bones also decay and are replaced by minerals which form the shape of the fossil in stone. You will see many of this kind of fossil today. After you finish today's tour, you may wish to take home a souvenir. We encourage you to do so. There is a shop outside the park, but you can also make purchases from our exhibitions. The money raised helps to fund our work of preserving this wonderful site. Of course, you can also buy fossils and take them home. Please don't think that all fossils are expensive to buy. The majority are small and affordable samples that are as wonderful as the larger ones. Don't forget to check them out. As you can see, you all have some worksheets to go through here today. These will help you to learn as much as you can from your visit. There are also some tools you will find as you go around the site. For example, there are tape measures available beside each fossil so that you can note the dimensions of each fossil. This can help us to identify different species. We also encourage you to use your specially designed notebook to record as many different types of rocks as you can. Geology forms an important part of the study of fossils, and so we want you to focus on the types. If you brought a camera along with you today, don't hesitate to use it as the images of the fossils will be worth reviewing later. You may wish to experiment with the settings to see what they are like. Here in the Information Centre you can pick up an information sheet which contains some useful tips on how to do that. Last of all, you can practice using a compass. Even though you cannot locate the fossils themselves using the compass, it will help you find the sediments, which are the key to the location of the fossils. These are very soft, so to protect the delicate fossils, trowels and plastic covers are needed. You will find these throughout the site. Please use them. Please feel free to ask any of our staff as you tour around, and enjoy your day. We hope you leave us today with a greater passion to study fossils further.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to Part 4.